A warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. Do not forget to subscribe. So, should you use a paste wax to protect your car, or should you use a more modern spray sealant, or sometimes referred to as spray wax, even if it's not perhaps a wax necessarily? Now, we're going to go through the strengths and weaknesses of both. So let's just start with that basic thing that we always talk about, price. Is there any financial advantage to using spray wax over paste waxes? The short answer is no, because you have to take the value for money on a product by product basis. There are paste waxes out there, and here's three of them that are not cheap. This one, I think, is close to £100 or something like that. That product might be about 60 odd pounds, I can't remember. That product's about £55 and it's a slightly smaller tin. So they're all very expensive, and if you use these to protect your car, they're going to cost you quite a bit of money to acquire them. But here we have examples of two paste waxes which are relatively affordable. I think this one's 16 or £17 and this one's about £30, okay, for a reasonably sized tin. There are paste waxes that you can go and buy out there that have got canoodle wax in them that you could buy for less than £10 for a tin. So you can get very affordable, cheap, whatever word you want to use, and you can get higher end or expensive, whatever words you want to use. Compare that to spray waxes or spray sealants, and it's exactly the same thing. This Turtle Wax Seal and Shine product, you can go and buy 5 litres of it for £22, as we were talking about the other day. 5 litres of this spray sealant, even as a professional detailer, you'll struggle to get through 5 litres of that in a year. That retail price of that bottle is around £10. And then you have perhaps more expensive ones like this Collinite Beadcoat, which is around £24. These are both water-based spray sealants. This, I think, might be waxy. I'm not sure if this has got wax in it, but whatever. Ceramic and graphene, this one. This one isn't even as expensive as some of the other water-based spray sealants up on the market that can get up into the 30s or maybe even £40, depending on the brand and all that. So the bottom line is, with waxes and spray sealants, if you want to pay a lot of money for them, you can, and there are reasons to. If you want to buy cheaper, affordable ones, you can, and those cheaper, affordable ones can still give you elements of performance which might outperform the expensive ones, as we've shown on the channel, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're better or worse. It's one area of performance. So the summary of that is, don't pick whether or not you use spray sealants or paste waxes based on whether or not you want to financially save money. That's the first thing I want you to take away from this video. Right, so what are the reasons to pick them and the reasons not to pick them? Right, now the first reason, you might want to pick spray sealants for the ease of application or the speed of application. Now typically with all of these cars, the same rule applies. With these products, you wash your car. If the car paintwork feels rough and there's bits of tar on it and, you know, dry fallout on it, etc., you would decontaminate and clay that off. If the paintwork is hazy and has fine scratches on it, you would machine polish that after decontaminating it. Then at that stage, you have contamination-free paintwork and good quality shiny paintwork. That's when you use these products to create a film over that paintwork to stop the contamination being able to stick and embed directly to the paintwork. That's what they're primarily there for. If we polish this car to a high level with a good finishing polish and really gloss up the paint, then none of these products are really going to be able to do much visually, because that polishing process with a finishing polish and a soft pad will give you the highest quality finish. So at that stage, these are more about protecting. If you have terrible paintwork and you're not into machine polishing, then these products can improve your paint. But anyway, we're talking about ease of application. These products are water-based. They spray on, you can spritz onto a microfiber applicator, form a film of the product over the panel, and then wipe it. And as the water flashes away, you get this thin film of material over the panel that's repellent, and it bonds to the surface, and it has good durability. And it's quicker to spread and buff. A paste wax is a thicker dissolved organic wax typically, or synthetic wax that's dissolved in solvent typically, although there are water-based waxes. These are typically based in solvent. When you get them on your applicator and you spread them, it's like spreading a grease or a butter, if you like, over the panel, as you've probably experienced, an oily butter. Once you've spread that layer of wax, you want to get a nice thin film, because if you've got big high troughs of it, it's all going to set and be harder to buff off. Once you've spread that product, you typically have to wait 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, whatever it says in the instructions, for the solvent to vape out and for that wax to harden before it's ready to buff. When you buff it, you can then find that you get little white edges on the, white lines on the edges, or little bits of wax that you miss. You can also sometimes find in really heavy sunlight, where you can see it, greasy buffer lines sometimes where it might not have fully cured, or the microfiber cloth hasn't got it all up. So it's easier, I think, to misapply a wax. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but that is typically my experience. So you can apply a spray sealant quicker with less potential risks than a paste wax. However, some people may argue that when it's nice, there's nothing more pleasurable than in the summer washing off your car and then waxing it and shining it up for the wax. There's something about it that's really relaxing and nice. And the products where you do it quickly, you could argue you're missing out on the fun. But we're on point 2, ease of application. For me, on paper, the spray waxes or spray sealants are much more rapid to apply and less problematic, okay? So they win in the application stakes. Let's move on to stake number 3. Which product actually makes your car look the best? Well, we've already discussed that. If you have a really good finish on your car and the clear coat's really nice and fresh and shiny and all polished up, it won't really matter, okay? But if your paintwork isn't perfect and it's older and a bit more weathered, then in my opinion, waxes have a better visual effect, and we demonstrated that in the last video where we compared these products. And indeed, I could probably show you that visual effect on a compounded panel, so a panel that's polished out here with a wool pad and a compound, so it's not the best finish. It allows you to see the difference in the filling effect. So here we have the double speed wax, which is a Bilt Hamber product. Here we have the Autoglym wax. This is sat outside for 24 hours, so you can see some debris on it. Here we have the Collinite Beadcoat, and here we have the Turtle Wax Seal and Shine. You could probably see on the camera the darkening effect of the wax there, there and there. You probably can't see anything there. You might just be able to see, can you see that line there? Can you just about see it? Well, I can see it with my eyes. So that turtle wax has a bit of a darkening effect. And ironically, the turtle wax product, I believe, is a wax emulsion as well, and the bead coat isn't. So wax in itself, when it's dissolved in water or solvent, seems to have a good filling effect. It may be completely something else, it may be completely something different, but I believe wax has a good filling effect from all the years that I'm doing it. I mentioned I used to make waxes. What the hell's in that? So, for me, if you're a real purist, then the visual effect of a paste wax perhaps is slightly better than the visual effect of a spray sealant. I will caveat that by saying it varies on a product by product basis. There are some paste waxes which may not fill very well, fill as in fill swirls very well. And there's some others that may fill swirls and improve the appearance more. There are some spray sealants which may fill very well and others which may not. So it does vary, and I am generalising, so I'm really interested in your opinions in the comments. There is also, within the category of waxes, I like to break them down into dry curing waxes and oily waxes. That there, for example, is an oily show wax. That's more of a dry curing wax. That's more of a dry curing wax. That's the old Fuso. That's more of a dry curing wax. The newer one has a slightly oilier feel. The more oil in a paste wax, They can give you a good amount of shine on application, but that oil tends to get broken down quickly by detergents. So yeah, there's such a vast range of chemistry and approaches with all of these products that it is very hard to generalize, but we're attempting to do so. In terms of protection, because that's what these are there for, John, it's less about the glamour. For some people, it's more about the protection. What's better? No, this is difficult because this product here, and this one to be fair, and maybe even you could say even the Autoglym as well, but perhaps not these two. These three waxes are good examples of paste waxes that perhaps offer the same durability as lots of traditional sealants. In fact, the Fuso coat, which is a wax, it's in a tin, it's a dissolved wax in solvent, but of course it contains fluoropolymers and other technologies which really boost hydrophobicity and endurance. But essentially it's still a wax, if you get me. Same with Bilt Hamber, it's a carnauba backbone wax, but it has synthetic hydrophobic polymers in it, if you like, or yeah, carnauba polymer based wax to add hydrophobicity. So they've all got organic material in them, but all got synthetic, but they're waxes really. These can be as durable as anything, and possibly even more durable than these products here, which are pretty durable in their own right. Again, let's just try and give you a general rule. Your average paste wax, carnauba based paste wax, which most of them are, carnauba's a organic resin that comes from a plant, typically found in Brazil. I can't remember what it's called. Put in the comments what it's called, something weird. Your average paste wax does not tend to have as good a durability as your average spray sealant, mainly because your average spray sealant contains a component, typically, again, it depends on the formulation, which bonds. So it might be an amino functional silicon that bonds to the surface and just lasts a bit longer. The silicon might not be as hydrophobic as a wax on application, but the fact it's bonding to the paintwork when it forms a film generally means that it will be there longer for me. But it's a very grey area talking about durability, because the way we measure durability tends to be from putting water on it and looking at the hydrophobic effect, and that can be slightly misleading. Yeah, but it is hard to do it any other way. You can look at, 10 years ago when we got our first Chinese gloss meter, we tried to use gloss degradation as a means of measuring durability, because you get an increment in gloss on a panel like that. So you can measure the gloss degradation as another delta for working out gloss durability, but it's not, it takes a long time to do. You have to clean back the panel, which creates other variables, and it's still not reliable. So measuring durability can be a very difficult subject matter, but generally, yeah, I was just thinking of the thing that Ian told me from UK Detailing. Generally, an organic material like a paste wax is not going to last as long as a man-made, engineered material designed to be for a specific application of being a coating, because we can engineer better materials than what we find organically. Again, the caveat is that these are altered, they're not just pure organic substances. So yeah, that's another open-ended caveat, and you could put your comments in about your experience of using paste waxes with sealants and durability. But the key thing is, traditionally waxes contain a little bit of oil to make them easier to spread, and they're less resistant. Organic waxes are less resistant to detergent. So yes, what about other characteristics like slickness and hydrophobicity? That is completely product by product, because these three products here are as hydrophobic as you will find on application. But this matches them on hydrophobicity. So again, you've got paste waxes which might not bead quite as well for as long. You've got ones that are extremely beady. You've got spray sealants which are extremely beady and hydrophobic, and you've got all the bubbles and jelly beans in your bonnet when it rains. And then this one here, which is less beady, but it's still just as kind of durable. So this isn't me sitting on the fence. The bottom line is use whatever you really like to use. I still love the idea in the summer of applying a paste wax to my car, especially on this black car. It's dirty. It looks clean, but it's dirty. You can see. So I'll love in the summer to wash this down and maybe put a paste wax on and buff it all out, you know, and have the radio on in the background and just enjoy the day doing that. Perhaps in the winter, I will, when it's colder and I don't want to be in the garage so much and I've polished the car maybe or done something to it, he's polishing his car again, I might just go for something like the turtle wax or the bead coat, because I can get it on the car immediately. Like I can have the side of this car done, covered, buffed, covered and buffed. I can do the side of that car in like 2 minutes. Paste wax, it's 10 minutes waiting and it's probably 5 or 10 minutes to apply, 5 minutes to buff. So the spray sealant would be at least half, if not a lot more quicker. The maths didn't add up for half, did they? So he's got the bin man here. Yeah, hopefully that gives you a good idea of what the difference is between those products. And you know, that's after 10 years of studying them and talking about them. I would still say, conclude this video by saying, use whatever you enjoy using. I think it's nice if you're into kind of your detailing to have a variety of options, spray and rinse products, spray sealants, good detail sprays, paste waxes, liquid waxes, glazes. It's nice to have your little products up on your shelf that you can kind of turn to and use, and also change, because sometimes you get bored just doing the same thing and you just want to try using a different product. So I tend to, I've got, realistically, I've got 1, 2, I shouldn't really include the paste waxes, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7, because I'd be less likely to use those 2 paste waxes at the back. I've got about 7 different options that I could use to protect my car, which is way too many, but yeah, it's just nice to vary it up. The irony is, for me, like, I should be done with buying all this, but there's a few more paste waxes that I really want to get. They're bloody expensive. They're like iconic ones that I really want to get as like a wax enthusiast and a kind of collector. I used to kind of, well, not really, but I used to have a lot of waxes and I got rid of them because it was getting too ridiculous. But there's a top 10 that I want to get, and I will eventually get round to getting them all. And that's part of the fun of this detailing as well. And some of those waxes that I want to get, if I did any sort of test and got my 10 favourite waxes, about 4 or 5 of them would be useless in terms of durability and beading and all of that, and cost and value for money. You know, they cost a fortune. They might not last long, but for me, they're highly desirable and I want to buy them. And that's just part of the fun of it all. So yeah, let me know in the comments what your favourite protection products are and why, and how do you feel about this whole subject of waxes and spray sealants. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel. Bye for now, Duke.